All right, let's get you the big breaking news that's coming in on the mega semi-final between India and Australia. You've got Australia now all out and India's bowlers, as expected, striking, decimating the Australian batsmen. Now India will have to chase down 265 for a place in the final, for a place to play for the Champions Trophy glory on Sunday. 264 is what Australia has managed to get, having chosen to bat first. This is a total that they could perhaps be happy with, but considering India's strong batting lineup, it is going to be a challenge for the Australia, and we definitely hope so, considering, of course, that our bowlers did manage to strike after a few of, in fact, the Australian batsmen gave us a bit of a scare. First, it was Travis Head, and then you had Steve Smith, also top scoring for the Australian side. But overall, Australia being restricted to 264. Nikhil Naz is joining us live from Dubai. Nikhil, 264, 265 is the score that India needs to qualify now for the final. What did you make of the first innings?
Well, Akshita, very, very tough to call at this moment. Remember, when we were speaking before the game had started, I'd said that now that Australia won the toss, of course, India started with an advantage, but Australia winning the toss, batting first, it made it for a very close encounter, almost a 50-50 game, because of the fact that Australia had won the toss and had the advantage of batting first. But now, if you take a look at what they've put on board, it is such a total, it's very tough to call even now whether Australia are favourites or whether India are favourites. Had this been 280 plus, I would have clearly said Australia in the driver's seat. India will have to pull off a minor miracle to win. Had this been below 250, I would have said India in the driver's seat. It should be very easy for the Indian team to coast from here and register a win and qualify for the final. I think it's somewhere in the middle, 264. It's a tantalizing sort of a total, giving both teams a chance. Australia would be sitting in the dressing room and saying that, listen, this is a low-scoring ground. We have a chance. We put 264. India would be thinking, this is our chance. We can chase 264. And why is it that the Indian team would be confident? If you remember, they were chasing 240 or 20 runs less than this versus Pakistan. But they finished the job well in advance with overs to spare, which meant that on that occasion they had given you a glimpse that they, if the total had been 260, 270, they would have chased it down. So I think both teams will feel quietly confident. But if you put a gun to my head and actually ask me to pick a team to win, I'd have to give a marginal edge to the Indian team on two counts. One, as I said, what we have seen in the game so far, this is look like a slightly better pitch to bat on, closer to the pitch that we saw in that Pakistan encounter, if not better than that. So slightly better pitch to bat on. So that's the first thing. Secondly, you have an inexperienced Australian bowling lineup, and I think that is something that the Indian batters can make most of. Also remember, Indian batting has been firing overall in this tournament. Everyone from number 1, 2, 3 onwards till number 7, that is Hardik Pandya. Everyone has been in form, has gotten runs at some occasion or the other. So they go in with a lot of confidence, knowing fully well that somebody will step up. So it's again a very, very close game. But if you really had to ask me to pick a winner, which probably they have their noses ahead at best, and that will be the Indian team chasing 264, primarily because of how they came back. See, why I'm saying that Indian dressing room would be quietly confident, because at one stage when Steve Smith was batting and then Carey came on later and he was bludgeoning the Indian bowlers, it did seem like that 300 was possible, or if not 300, you were looking at 280, 290, and that's the partnership that was brewing there in the centre, and couple of batters really putting their hands up. From there, they've really got the Australian tail under control, picking up regular intervals towards the last 10 overs, the death overs, and restricting them to 264. So that's why I think they'll go slightly happier of the two teams in the I don't know whether to call it a tea break, lunch break, because it's early evening here in Dubai, but the mid break of this game, the Indian team slightly more confident than Australia.
Okay, so evenly poised at this point, with in fact a target of 265 for India to get in the next innings. All eyes will be on our star batsmen. As Nikhil says, at this point there's perhaps a slight edge for India, looking at how really our batsmen have been faring, looking at the pitch and the fact that Australia does have a weak bowling lineup. But having said that, Nikhil, you know, looking back at the first innings, do you think India perhaps should have restricted Australia to a lower score than 264?
That's a tricky question again, Akshita. To start with, yes, it did seem like that India had the stranglehold. I know Travis Head was hitting a few boundaries, but when you got him for 30 odd, I thought at that moment, and you got Varun Chakravarti to get that important Travis Head wicket, and this is what we had discussed. Travis Head is usually the most important cog in the wheel for the Australian team. As soon as he was out early on, they had lost those 2 wickets. You thought, okay, this isn't going to go at a par level at 260, 270. You weren't looking at that. But then, back of your head, you knew that there is a Steve Smith, and sure enough, we spoke about Steve Smith at length in our pre-show as well. He was the man who really stepped up on the occasion, ably supported there by Alex Carey. I think these two batters, then putting that partnership together, was taking Australia closer to... we were in the press box, and the media was talking, the game was changing continuously, I mean, ebbs and flows, and there was a point where we were discussing 300, and it looked like on target, because that's how good they were looking. The good thing with that middle over phase for Australia was not only were they consolidating, which other teams have tried to do, but what they have lost out while consolidating has been the net run rate. The net run rate continued to fall. We saw New Zealand guilty of that. We saw Pakistan guilty of that in the previous games that they played here. But Australia did not make that mistake. Clearly, they saw those games, picked up a few finer points, and they realized that you may have to consolidate in the middle overs, but you can't allow the run rate to really drop. And that's exactly what they did. Kept getting those boundaries in the middle. Not very adventurous, but kept getting the boundaries. So 300 was looking, almost a realistic target for Australia. From there, 264, no. I think this is the best the Indian team could have done under the circumstances. They'd be happy that it hasn't gone beyond their reach. It still remains a target which is within their reach. So overall, they'd be happy. If I had to really nitpick, I think to begin with, could have gotten Varun Chakravarti an over or two earlier, because Travis Head was attacking the Indian medium pacer, and then I think you went with Kuldeep Yadav as your first choice of spinner, first change, and that wasn't very prudent at the moment. So that was a minor glitch in the captaincy today. But overall, if you leave that aside, overall he was spot on in the rotation of the bowlers. Varun Chakravarti picking up 2 wickets. You had Mohammed Shami, the standout bowler for India. Again, his experience coming to the fore, and I take you to that point where he picks up the wicket of Steve Smith, bowled. I think that was a crucial point. If that wicket hadn't come at that time, probably we were talking about 290 or upwards of 290, 300, somewhere there is where Australia would have landed. But that wicket by Mohammed Shami proved to be very crucial. And from there on, while Alex Carey was very good, the rest of the batters failed to, give any sort of support. I mean, Glenn Maxwell's shot, I think that was baffling. He had hit a 6 before that. He has shown in these conditions during the IPL, as I'd mentioned, that he can get runs against spin bowling on slower pitch. But again, a baffling stroke there by Maxwell, which actually then put Australia on the back foot. They had to consolidate, and they've ended up. I think they'd also be happy, 260 odd. At toss, if you had asked Australia, would you take 260? They may have, maybe 270, 280 would have made them feel very comfortable, but under the circumstances, I think they'll take 260 as well.
Okay, let's bring in Harbhajan Singh and Sunil Gavaskar, find out what they have to say about the first innings. Harbhajan, to you first. Looking at the score currently put up by Australia of 264, do you think it's under par on this wicket?
I believe India have a great chance to chase down these runs. Australia at one stage, they were looking like to get about 280, 290, but Shami got them back in the game. Then Akshar got Maxwell. Afterward, obviously they didn't get going, and they didn't get too many runs on the board. So now India have to make sure they bat well in the first 10 over or so, and they have to be little cautious against Zampa as well. So
Okay.
I think these are gettable runs, and Team India looks in a good shape. They have scored runs, Kohli in form,
Okay.
Shubman Gill in form. So, I'm hoping that this will be chased down.
So Harbhajan thinks it's advantage India. Mr. Gavaskar, what do you think? How are you looking at this total that Australia has set?
It's a good competitive total, no question about it. But India has got the batting depth to get past that total. What they need, what India really need, is to get off to a good start in the first 10 overs. Like I've been saying, maybe get to 55, 60, just 1 wicket down. Then I think it becomes that much easier. Their new ball bowling is their main threat. Australia's new ball bowling is their main threat. So the first 10 overs are going to be crucial, and that's where India need to ensure that they don't lose wickets. Even if they don't score too many runs, that's not a problem. Keep wickets in hand, because scoring at a little over 5.5 runs an over means that you have to have wickets in hand when it comes to the last 15 overs or so.
Let me just bring in Nikhil before I take this across to our reporters. I'll request Mr. Gavaskar and Harbhajan to stay with us. Nikhil, New Zealand failed to actually chase 249 in the same ground. So it could be a bit of a challenge, the fact that now India has to get, 264 plus runs.
Good point, Akshita. Yes, that's right. Same ground. New Zealand struggled to get to that. But then there are two other factors which I think, put India at an advantage. And it wouldn't be fair really then to compare what New Zealand did and what India might do in the second innings. First of all, the pitch, the strip, the 22 yards that we've seen for this game is a different strip that is being used than to the one that was used in the New Zealand game. That one was a tacky surface. We saw that even when New Zealand were bowling to begin with. Santner's ball was gripping, turning, and you realize it wasn't going to be a very healthy pitch to bat on. And when India batted in the first innings, even someone like a Hardik Pandya, who was a good stroke maker, was struggling to hit a lot of shots. You realize at that time that this was a double pace wicket. So when you had a sub 250 total that New Zealand had to chase, you knew it was going to be tough. Why is it that we're slightly more bullish with this Indian team chasing a 260 plus total here? Simply because the pitch is different. This looked like a better pitch to bat on. When we were seeing, Carey hit those shots, some hit by Steve Smith, even though he hit more fours than sixes, you could make out that he could trust the ball coming onto the bat, and he hit those cover drives as well, a few of those straight drives. That tells you that this is a better pitch to bat on than the one we saw in the New Zealand game. So, which is why 264 seems like a total that India can chase. Of course, the bowling also makes a difference. India had played 4 spinners on that pitch. New Zealand clearly struggled on that tricky pitch. Australia are playing 3 spinners here, but they are not of the same quality that India had versus New Zealand. So if you take these things into consideration, that's why you're more confident about India chasing it down. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but there's more chance of India chasing it down than New Zealand had on that day.
We had spoken about this, Nikhil, earlier, about the dew factor and the fact that there is no dew factor essentially in Dubai, or at least hasn't been in the last few games. We'll have to see if this time around there is or not. And Nikhil, I'll come across to you on that. I just want to give our viewers a sense of really what fans have to say about how so far India has performed. And I'll take this across to our reporters. We've got Anirban from Kolkata, Aman Bharadwaj from Chandigarh, Ashish Srivastava from Lucknow. Anirban, I'll begin with you. What do fans have to say? Happy with how the first innings has gone?
It's mixed feelings right now in Kolkata, as India has played well, I can say, because as they have a comeback in this match, and after that all the people over here are equally I will like to ask you that how the way India played today. So do you hopeful that India could win this match and go to the finals of the ICC Champions Trophy?
पक्का हम इंडिया तो अच्छे से जीतेगा इस मैच को, और जैसे हमारे लोग खेले हैं, विकेट लिए हैं, बहुत अच्छा है. अभी हमारा जो बैटिंग चलने वाला है, और बैटिंग में जो ऊपर का 4 लोग है, लगता है वही बना देगा.
I can see that you were holding Shubman Gill, KL Rahul, as well as Jadeja over here, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. These are the 2 pillars of Indian cricket team today, and we will watch that what will happen in the match, as it's going to be an exciting batting, as India everyone is hopeful right now that India could make this target, as well as they could do something for the 3rd time to go into the finals, and also lifting the ICC Champions Trophy for the 3rd time.
Okay, let's bring in others also. Aman Bharadwaj joining us from Chandigarh. Aman, take it away. What do fans have to say?
See, let me show you the arrangements first here in Tri-City Chandigarh, because it's a central point of the city, Sector 22, where the LED has place for the fans, and we have some of the fans who visited Chandigarh from Faridkot of Punjab. So, आपने मैच देखा, कैसा लगा आपको, क्या उम्मीद लग रही है?
बहुत बढ़िया लगा. हमें पूरी उम्मीद है कि भारत जो है वो अवश्य जीतेगा. तो भारत के जो बॉलर्स हैं उन्होंने भी बहुत अच्छा जो अपना प्रदर्शन किया है। सो अभी हमें यही लगता है कि रोहित शर्मा जो है, शुभमन जो पंजाब का ही है ना, हम भी पंजाब से हैं, तो वो भी अवश्य बहुत अच्छी अपनी कारगुजारी दिखाएंगे।
पिछले मैच से कुछ अलग लगा, कुछ परफॉर्मेंस में या सस्टेनेबिलिटी जैसे है, कुछ बेटर है पहले से, क्या क्या बेटर लगा?
हाँ, बढ़िया लगा। आज भी बॉलिंग जो है बहुत अच्छी की है, अच्छी तरह से खेले हैं, कॉन्फिडेंस में दिखा है। अगर इसी तरह का कॉन्फिडेंस अगर बैटिंग में भी होगा, अवश्य होगा, तो भारत को जो है रोहित शर्मा है, उनकी बैटिंग जो है इस वक्त फॉर्म में भी अच्छा खेल रहे हैं, वो बढ़िया से खेल कर भारत को जरूर जिता।
आपको कैसा सेकंड इनिंग कैसी आपको लग रही है, अभी जो दूसरी इनिंग होगी बैटिंग करेगा इसमें?
देखिए, ऐसा लग रहा है कि रोहित आते ही फोड़ देगा यहाँ पर ऑस्ट्रेलिया को। तो भारत, जिस तरह भारत की शुरू से बॉडी लैंग्वेज आज पूरी बढ़िया लग रही है, इस तरह से लगता है कि भारत के जो है कि रोहित और शुभमन ही मैच जिता देंगे। अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो विराट को तो शायद जिताने के लिए आना पड़ेगा, तो भारत बड़ी आसानी से ये मैच जीतेगा।
वेटिंग की आप देख रहे हैं कि कब वो मैच खत्म हो और यहाँ से आप फिर?
हाँ बिल्कुल, हम यहाँ से मस्ती करते हुए जाएंगे। हमने काफी एंजॉयमेंट का प्रोग्राम बनाया है, हम पटाखे फोड़ेंगे, सब दोस्तों को बुला लेंगे। और ऐसा है कि
celebrations, as you can see there from fans who are in Chandigarh. Quickly, I'll bring in Ashish Srivastava, who's joining us live from Lucknow. Ashish, what's the mood there in Lucknow among fans?
This is a big day for people who are here, and the best day just because today's match India and Australia, and they are just you can hear the voice. There's the aspirants of a young cricketer, and they just India calling, and they just want to wish that, because they just want to they just want to see the batting line of India, because today whatever that happened in bowling line, it was the good, like Varun Chakravarti and Shami, both were very good. And I would ask everyone, आप बताइए कि कैसा आज आपने मैच देखा और किस तरीके से लगा आपको, आप क्या, कितनी उम्मीद है जीतने की?
आज के मैच का हम लोग को सुबह से मतलब इंतजार था बहुत दिन से, और आज का मैच बहुत ही अच्छा हुआ। इंडिया ने काफ़ी अच्छी बॉलिंग की है, जो शमी सर ने विकेट स्टार्टिंग के अच्छे से निकाली, और स्पिनर ने भी बहुत ही अच्छी बॉल डाली है।
ओके, आप बताइए, अब जो बैटिंग लाइन होगी इंडिया की, आपको लगता है कि कौन परफॉर्म करेगा और कैसे इस बार अब जीतेगी चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी? बहुत बड़ा दिन है इंडिया के लिए।
देखिए, ओपनिंग में तो रोहित शर्मा और गिल आएंगे, ठीक है, और रोहित शर्मा तो वैसे भी अच्छी बैटिंग ही कर रहे हैं और उनका फॉर्म आ ही रहा है, और गिल भी अच्छा ही बैटिंग कर रहे हैं, उन्हें भी 100 मारना है
इस बार। अब कितना लगेगा, आपको लग रहा है कि टफ मुकाबला है कि?
बिल्कुल, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के साथ मैच है तो टफ तो रहेगा चेस करना, 280 रन टफ तो रहेगा चेस करना।
Okay, so they are saying it'll be tough to chase. It's good to know that they are also realistic of what's the challenge that's lying ahead. But let's talk about the pitch, what I was referring to with Nikhil. And I'd like to bring in Harbhajan also on that. Harbhajan, Nikhil, of course, told me earlier that, as the game progresses, the pitch gets tired. There's no real dew factor. So is the pitch really going to deteriorate? How tricky will that make the run chase really for India?
Well, we have spoken about this pitch as the game progresses on such pitches. These pitches are actually getting slower and slower. But later on in the inning, I don't think it's going to change much. It's going to play the same way what we have seen it played again when Australians were batting. But on such pitches, I think India have a better chance to win, because they don't have quality spin bowling like Indian spin bowling. So I believe India have a great chance to chase these runs.
Okay, let's talk about Australia's performance. And Mr. Gavaskar, obviously, you look at the Australian innings, the highlight, the star of the day for Australia so far has been Steve Smith. What did you make of his innings?
Well, Steve Smith, played an innings like Kohli plays. No, very little risk taken, playing proper cricketing shots, and knowing where the fielders are and playing shots accordingly. So even when he played the lofted shot, it was played between the fielders. That is the kind of brilliance that he showed today. He got out maybe getting a tad over ambitious. It was very good field placing by Rohit Sharma, having both the men at mid-on and mid-off in the circle, which is what made Smith go for that big shot and missed it and was clean bowled. But what a terrific innings from the Australian skipper.
Absolutely. But, ahead of the match, everyone was talking about Travis Head, saying the danger man from an Indian perspective was believed to be Travis Head. He wasn't allowed to really cause much damage today, but it was Steve Smith who really stood up to remind everyone of his reputation of being a big match player, a big match winner sometimes. Okay, so we've told you all about Steve Smith, the powerhouse, and his amazing performance in the first innings. As far as India's bowling performance goes, and I'd like to bring in Mr. Gavaskar on this, do you think actually having 4 spinners was the right call?
Yes, I definitely think, because look at the way the spinners have bowled. The spinners have hardly given away any runs. They've taken wickets. They've hardly given away any runs. So it was a good call. Because again, Australia is used to playing fast bowling. And Harshit Rana is a little bit inexperienced. So one would imagine that having the spinners on certainly made, more spinners, 4 spinners on, certainly made a lot of sense.
Okay, and now looking forward to the next innings where India will be batting, chasing down that total of 264. Harbhajan, which Indian batter to you holds the key in this chase?
Well, I think someone from the top need to get a big 100, either Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli. If one gets 100 out of these 3, India will be sorted. And I'm backing Shubman Gill out of these 3 to bat through the inning, and of course everyone needs to chip in with small little bit performances with their bat here and there, and it's not that big a total, but we have to be sure in first 10 overs that India don't lose too many wickets. If you lose too many wickets up front, so any team kind of comes in pressure, so India needs to avoid that, make sure that they play well against the new ball.
And Mr. Gavaskar, what do you think? Who will really hold the key to ensuring that India manages to win this particular match? Who's key in the India batting lineup?
Well, all the batters have to put their hand up. If their turn comes, they'll have to put their hand up and show why they're rated highly. I would not say A or B or C or D will be the one scoring runs. The openers get the team off to a good solid base, then it makes it easier for the others as well down the order.
Okay, all right. Mr. Sunil Gavaskar and Harbhajan Singh, thank you very much. As always, appreciate you taking the time out, joining us with your analysis. We look forward to the second innings and you joining us post the match, hopefully where we'll be talking about India's win and progressing to the finals. But let me just bring in Nikhil Naz again, who joins us live from Dubai. Nikhil, what really do you think should be India's approach now in the second innings? Slow and steady or go all out with a bang starting from the first ball?
Okay, it's a catch-22 situation at the moment, and I'll tell you why, Akshita. The new ball presents a great opportunity to get a lot of runs because the ball is hard. Stroke making would be easier because, remember, as I mentioned, pitch might get tired towards the second half, so stroke making becomes tough. So that will then prompt you to play some aggressive cricket up front. But the problem with that is, if you play aggressive cricket, you end up losing a few wickets. So this is going to be a catch-22 situation. I think how the Indian team is going to approach, they might have specific roles for each player. So you might have a situation where Rohit Sharma is the aggressor, but Shubman Gill, his opening partner, digs his heels in. That could be the approach. Then Virat Kohli plays a more circumspect, a more careful sort of a knock. Then you have a Shreyas Iyer who may play the attacking role. So I think just as they sometimes mix the left-hand, right-hand batting combination to confuse the opposition team, I think the other thing they will do is to mix a partnership where one is going to be the aggressor, the other one plays plays careful strokes or ensure that wickets don't fall at the other end. I think that would be the perfect approach. I know a lot of people have come out and said that Rohit Sharma needs to curtail his aggressive intent because this is a ground where you need to save on your wickets, build partnership, and then you have enough wickets towards the end, because if you start losing wickets on the top, you could be in trouble. But I think his approach of attacking would be a good idea. That is his approach. There are others who can play the anchor role, and there are others who will play the attacking role. That combination should work best. I'm already hearing a lot of screaming and shouting in the ground, which is right to my right here, and I reckon it would be the time that Indian batters are walking out to bat. So we'll know the answer very soon.
Okay, Nikhil, we look forward to having you with us when the match comes to an end. Hopefully, with the news that we'll be discussing how India has progressed now to the finals of the Champions Trophy. We're keeping our fingers crossed for that. Enjoy the match. Thanks very much, Nikhil, for joining us. And as I said, we will, of course, get you all the action from the match once it gets over tonight. And as, of course, we cheer on the men in blue.